Hidden gifts of the Libra sign. Do you know what your spiritual gift is? You've probably heard that Libra is the sign of balance, of beauty, of effortless diplomacy, of a smile that calms any room. It's what everyone repeats, and perhaps you yourself have repeated it about yourself, almost as a polite excuse to explain why you give in again, why you always seem to find the middle ground before anyone else realizes there was a conflict there. But there's a question no one asks. If Libra balances everything so well, why do so many Librans end the day exhausted, unsure of exactly how they feel, as if they've spent all their energy managing others and forgotten to ask themselves what's left? There is a real gift in Libra that is almost never correctly named. It's not the gift of harmony, as taught in the usual texts. It's something else, quieter, stranger, and therefore more powerful. It's the real ability to see in a single instant all possible angles of a situation, all versions of a truth, all the hidden pain behind a gesture. A gift of multiple perception, almost like a prism that receives a single light and returns it in a whole spectrum of colors that no one else had noticed were there. And it is precisely this gift that confuses those who possess it so much. Because seeing so many colors at the same time comes at a price, the person begins to doubt which of these colors is truly theirs. They begin to wonder, among all that I feel for others, what exactly am I? Think calmly about how this plays out in practice. Someone disagrees with you, and before you even feel your own irritation, you've already seen the other person's point of view. You've already understood why they think that way. You've already felt, almost physically, their discomfort. And suddenly, your own opinion has lost its strength, diluted among so many others that you were able to see with painful clarity. This is not a character flaw, much less a weakness that needs to be hidden. It is a real spiritual gift, functioning exactly as it should, only without instructions for its use. No one ever taught you how to close that lens when necessary. No one told you that seeing all the colors of light doesn't mean you have to become all of them at once. There's a scene that repeats itself in the life of almost every Libra, and perhaps you recognize this scene better than you'd like. It's that moment when two close people disagree, and without anyone asking, you're already there, in the middle, trying to find a way out that doesn't hurt either of them. Your body relaxes when you find that way out, as if the other person's peace were, in some strange way, your own peace. But nobody asked you if you wanted to be there in the middle of it. Nobody asked you how you felt about the issue before you resolved other people's conflicts. And this is where the unsettling question arises. Why does this gift of seeing all colors, so real and so powerful, seem to steal from you precisely the color that should be most yours? Perhaps you felt this without knowing how to name it, that feeling of having helped everyone feel understood, and at the end of the day, sitting alone and realizing that no one asked how you were. Not even you asked yourself in time. This gift, when not recognized for what it truly is, becomes a burden disguised as a virtue. And the question that remains, the question we will carefully explore from now on, is this. Is there any way to use this prism without getting lost within it? Is there a way to return light to the world without forgetting which light was born within you first? Before touching anyone else, this question haunted me for a long time, because I too used to be that prism spinning too fast, trying to reflect everyone around me and forgetting to reflect myself first. It was while searching for answers to this that I found this digital book, The Divine Path That Guides Your Zodiac. Sign to a Life of Purpose doesn't come as just another list of advice on harmony, because you already know too much about harmony. It arrives as a different mental posture, a way to reorganize your own prism so that it continues to show all the colors of the world without ever again erasing the color that is uniquely yours. It's the difference between balancing others out of obligation and balancing yourself by choice, something every Libra recognizes as soon as they feel it, even without being able to explain it. If you've made it this far, it's because some part of you has already recognized this pattern living within you, still troubled, still processing how much of this gift has been wasted without return. This discomfort you feel now is not an accident. It's the exact sign that something within you is ready to change direction before this same scene repeats itself again tomorrow. The link is in the first pinned comment, but be aware, this content may be taken down. Click now and download your copy. Meanwhile, tell me in the comments, when was the last time you resolved someone else's conflict before even understanding how you felt about the issue yourself? The question I just asked you isn't just an exercise in reflection. It's where this story truly begins, because nobody is born knowing how to balance the entire world. This gift was built far too early within a home, during childhood, at a moment when someone small realized that if they stayed quiet and organized the adults' fights around them, peace would return more quickly. Perhaps you recall a version of this in your own story, a tense dinner table, two voices rising, and a child who learns, without anyone explaining, to read the mood of the room even before understanding their own name. This child grows up, and the prism is born there, trained too early for a function that should come later, that of translating other people's emotions before even learning to name their own. And the worst part is that this child was almost always praised for it. Someone said, with genuine affection, that she was too mature for her age, that she knew how to calm everyone down, that she had a special gift for dealing with difficult people. And that praise, however well-intentioned, instilled a dangerous lesson. Her worth was tied to her usefulness in putting out other people's fires. No one told her that she was also allowed to simply feel anger, sadness, or tiredness without having to manage the reaction of anyone else around her. Over time, this talent becomes an automatic reflex. Someone raises their voice in a meeting, and before anyone else notices the discomfort, you've already sensed it, calculated a way out, and organized the words that will restore calm to the environment. It's like having a security system installed that records everything around you, every movement, every tension hidden behind a smile, but never records the room where the camera is mounted. This shows up in places you might not even have noticed yet. At work, you're the first to sense when two colleagues are having a disagreement, even before a word is spoken aloud, and you're the one who organizes the conversation, chooses the right moment and softens the tone before it becomes a bigger problem. Nobody asked for this role, but somehow it always ends up being yours, silently, meeting after meeting. In relationships, this pattern becomes even more visible and sometimes more painful. How many times have you noticed first that your family and the family of someone you love were at odds and placed yourself in the middle before even asking what you yourself needed at that moment? How many times have you orchestrated the emotional atmosphere of an entire dinner, ensuring that no one felt uncomfortable, and only afterward, alone, realized that no one had asked how the dinner had been for you? And here lies a contradiction that deeply troubles those who possess this gift. You understand others with an almost unsettling precision, but you rarely understand yourself with the same clarity. Ask a Libra what their friend is feeling, and the answer comes quickly, detailed and accurate. Ask them what they themselves are feeling, and the silence lingers longer than it should. This is not a lack of emotional intelligence, it's an excess of it, directed outwards all the time, like a light that illuminates everything around it except the very ground it rests on. If someone were to ask you right now, without warning, how you feel about your own life at this very moment, not about anyone else's life, how long would it take you to answer with the same certainty you use to describe how others feel? For many people who possess this gift, that pause of silence, that slight delay before the answer, already says more than any words that would follow. This reversal has consequences that appear in strange, almost disguised ways. A tiredness that doesn't match how much you slept. A sudden irritation with people you love, without any apparent reason to justify the size of the reaction. A desire from time to time to disappear for an entire weekend without answering any messages, just so you don't have to feel the emotional weight of anyone else but your own. There's a scene that illustrates this with painful clarity. It's the moment when you realize you've once again made a choice, thinking first about how the other person would react. You wanted to say no, but you felt the discomfort it would cause, and before the word even came out, you'd already calculated the emotional cost of disappointing someone. And you said yes, again. Every time this happens, a small part of your emotional account is debited, without any equivalent deposit coming in on the other side. It's an account that no one openly collects, but it exists silently, accumulating a negative balance that manifests as unexplained tiredness, irritation that doesn't match your own upbringing, or that sudden urge to disappear from everything for a few days without explaining why. That negative balance you carry without realizing it is exactly where the digital book, the divine path that guides your zodiac, sign to a life of purpose, comes in as a practical tool, not just another empty promise. It exists to teach you how to make the deposit that no one else will make for you, to recharge that emotional account before it goes into the red again. If you recognize that nameless weariness while listening to this now, this is the right time to act before tomorrow repeats itself like yesterday. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. Returning to that negative balance I mentioned, it doesn't disappear on its own just because you ignore it. It accumulates month after month, until it explains behaviors that you yourself don't quite understand, like that outburst of tears over something too small to justify so much emotion, or that sudden silence in the middle of an easy conversation, as if your body had simply decided to stop giving anything more for the day. Perhaps the hardest thing to accept is this: the constant kindness that Libra offers doesn't always stem from pure generosity. Sometimes it stems from fear of conflict, fear of rejection, fear of that uncomfortable silence that hangs in the air when someone truly disagrees. And if that's true, even if only a little, perhaps the right question isn't how to be even kinder, but rather, kind to whom exactly have you been kind in recent weeks? Because when fear disguises itself as virtue, it becomes almost invisible, even to those who practice it every day. This fear rarely appears in this guise. It disguises itself as common sense, maturity, as it's not worth creating this fuss over something so small, and perhaps sometimes that's true. But when this reasoning always appears in every situation of disagreement, it ceases to be wisdom and becomes an automatic escape pattern, repeated so many times that it no longer seems like a choice. Remember a time when you disagreed with someone important, truly disagreed, and felt your stomach clench before you even opened your mouth. Maybe you swallowed your disagreement, smiled, changed the subject. And in that instant, the relief that came wasn't because the problem was solved. It was because you avoided the discomfort of being seen disagreeing. These are different things, but Libras tend to confuse them throughout their lives. There's a moment for almost every Libra when this mechanism jams. It's when two close people pull in opposite directions and simultaneously ask you to choose a side. At that instant, the prism that always knew how to return the right color to each person simply doesn't know what to do, because for the first time, it can't please everyone at the same time. And it's precisely at this moment of jamming that a dangerous question arises. If I can't balance everyone now, who exactly am I when I'm not balancing anyone? Imagine a party, a dinner among old friends, when two of them argue over a silly thing that quickly escalates. Everyone, without realizing it, starts looking at you, expecting you to resolve the issue, because at some point you became the person who resolves things. And there, in the middle of the room, feeling both sides pulling at the same time, a part of you wants to shout that you also have your own opinion on the matter. But the habit of balancing things out prevails, and you choose, once again, the neutral silence that pleases everyone and represents no one, not even yourself. This question is frightening because it touches on something real. For many Librans, identity was built upon the function of mediating, and not upon a solid, inherent essence that would exist anyway, even without any surrounding conflict to resolve. The question of who you are when you're not balancing anyone else's life is exactly what the digital book, The Divine Path that guides your zodiac sign to a life of purpose, helps you answer calmly, without requiring you to abandon your natural kindness. It shows you how to separate your essence from your function, something no one has taught you before, and which completely changes how you relate to others and to yourself from now on. Don't let this doubt haunt you for another year without an answer. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. And perhaps you've already felt this question silently nagging at you in the early hours of the morning when the day ended and no one asked how you were, or in those conversations where you realized you knew everything about other people's lives and almost nothing about what you really wanted for your own. But there is another way, and it begins precisely with accepting a simple truth. The prism does not choose the colors that pass through it. It only chooses, over time and consciously, how much of itself it will spend reflecting each of them. This difference seems small, but it changes everything. The day that prism stops spinning automatically is the day Libra understands that true balance doesn't mean distributing the same amount of light to everyone all the time. It means, above all else, ensuring that there's always some of that light left over to illuminate one's own path first. This doesn't turn Libra into someone cold or distant, because that's not the sign's nature, and probably never will be. It transforms Libra into someone who still sees all the colors of the world, but who finally remembers which one was born first, before anyone else entered the room. It begins with small gestures, almost invisible to an outside observer, but enormous for those who practice them for the first time. It's the first time you say no without preparing 3 justifications beforehand. It's the first time you let an uncomfortable silence exist in a room without rushing to fill it with a solution. It's the first time you choose to rest instead of solving someone else's problem, which wasn't even yours to solve anyway. And perhaps that is Libra's true spiritual gift, more real than any cliché about harmony. It's not the ability to balance others. It's the ability, when finally developed, to return to the world an honest light, made of colors borrowed from so many people who have passed through their lives, but organized at its center by a color that is uniquely their own. Reaching this point already shows that part of you wants to stop operating on autopilot and start consciously choosing how much of yourself to give to each person. The digital book. The divine path that guides your zodiac sign to a life of purpose was created for this exact phase, transforming a gift that has always existed into something you finally know how to manage day after day without getting lost again along the way. Few people reach this point of clarity, and you are closer to it than you imagine. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. If there's one thing that remains after this video, let it be this. You don't need to extinguish the prism that you are. You just need to stop spinning so fast that you forget to look inside it from time to time. The beauty of Libra has always been there. in that rare ability to multiply the light around, to make those nearby feel, even if only for a moment, seen and understood in a way that few signs can offer. Perhaps all that was missing was remembering to keep some of that light for oneself before spreading the rest throughout the world. Not as an act of selfishness, but as a simple act of justice, almost obvious when viewed from the outside. Those who give back so much light to others also deserve to shine a little within themselves. And if, during those minutes, some part of you recognized yourself in that prism spinning too fast, perhaps that is the quietest and most important invitation in the entire video. The next time the world asks for balance, first ask what color is yours, before lending all the others to whoever is nearby.